harlot is. And so it talks about a woman who is a harlot, who is riding a scarlet-colored beast full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a gold cup full of abominations of the unclean things of her immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of saints and with the blood of witnesses of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered greatly. And the angel said to me, why do you wonder? I will tell you. And then it goes on to explain these things. It says, the beast you saw was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and go to destruction. And those who dwell on the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will wonder when they see the beast that he was, is not, and yet will come. Now the beast refers to the progress of ancient empires that are very much a part of prophecy. They succeed one another. And the final beast, which is the revived form of the Roman Empire, and the Antichrist that comes up out of this empire. But he says here, here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Rome has been called the city of the 7 hills from ancient times. And it says the woman sits on those 7 hills. As I've talked about many times, how I was studying about this in the mid-1950s, and I was pondering as I was studying this about what does this mean, the woman sits on 7 hills? And I walked by the old Rice Hotel on Main Street in Houston, Texas. And I looked up, there was a Pan American Airlines ticket office, and it had a poster which says, come see the city of the 7 hills. And then it had Rome under it. I said, thank you, Lord, that's it. And truly, that is part of it. Even Malachi, by the way, speaks of the Roman church being destroyed and calls it the city on the 7 hills. And so he says also in verse 10 of Revelation 17, and they are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other is not yet come, and when he comes, he must remain a little while. The 7 heads represent 7 kingdoms. 5 have fallen. Well, that would have been, these are the powers that had influence over Israel. Assyria, Egypt, then Neo-Babylonian, followed by the Medo-Persian, the Macedonian Greek under Alexander the Great, and then the Roman Empire phase 1, and then it says it would go be in a mystery form, and then it would come back at the end time as the Roman Empire phase 2. Now it's important to see that the woman is sitting on the beast, which in its last form it refers and is a figure of the Antichrist. It says she is sitting on the beast and riding it. So this means that the symbol of the woman sitting on the 7 hills, she is actually in charge of the revived Roman Empire at the end, and she is even in charge of the Antichrist, which will rise at that time, the Antichrist and the false prophet. And so it shows that the beast will be the Antichrist, but the church will actually have power over the Antichrist until something that is said here that very few people discuss. In Revelation chapter 17, it talks about the 10 horns, which are 10 kings that rise at the same time politically as the Antichrist. And it says that the 10 horns which you saw, and the beast, the Antichrist, these will hate the harlot, which refers to the false church. And the city which that woman represents is mentioned in Revelation 17:18. The woman whom you saw is the great city, which is reigning literally over the kings of the earth. Well, the great city could only be Rome, specifically the Vatican, which sits on the 7 hills and has been the mystery form of the Roman Empire since politically it fell in the 5th century AD. So we see here that originally the next thing we will see is a revival of the Roman Empire. That fits in exactly what I've said for over 50 years, that the Roman Empire phase 2 cannot be revived until the United States begins to fade and become a second-rate power. This will force the powers of Europe to come together, and it will be the mystery form of the old Roman Empire, which has existed all this time, the woman, the harlot, which is the Roman Catholic Church. And that is how it will have the power to pull together all of the dysfunctional nations within the European Union and be able to pull it together. And as this is pulled together politically as a revival of the old Roman Empire, it will also help the Antichrist and the false prophet to rise at the same time. And it will have power over them until they rebel and destroy the whole Roman Church. Now, you can't get away from it. Even Malachi, who was a Catholic and who, had no axe to grind against the Catholic Church, said that when the last pope would rise, he would call himself Peter the Roman, and that during his reign, the city on the 7 hills would be destroyed. That's the same thing as predicted in Revelation, that the Antichrist will throw off its control over him and destroy it. Folks, I believe all of this is being set up right before us now. Now, as I've said many times, the Roman Church is a system, and within that system, there are people who have come to know Jesus Christ and are truly born again. So we're not talking about the people, we're talking about the system. But you go back in history, this system is guilty of many of the things that Revelation chapter 17 says about the blood of the saints. Now, I believe we're getting very, very near that time when all of this is coming together. So that's, can this really happen? Can a pope be powerful enough to shape the world opinion and events to assist the rise of the beast? John Paul II used his power in league with Ronald Reagan to shape Europe in the 1980s and bring down the Soviet Union. That proves that it can be done because it has been done. Ronald Reagan alone couldn't have brought down the Soviet Union. And the Pope couldn't have brought down the Soviet Union by himself. But when he saw that his home country, Poland, was being persecuted and the Soviet Union was trying to take it over, he said, I'll take off my cassock and lead an army against you myself. And that helped bring down the Soviet Union. So I believe that all of these things are coming together. Now, this is why I've been so interested in this ancient Catholic bishop's predictions Malachi's predictions. They've been remarkably accurate, at least in the last 400 years. And so if some people say it's a fraud, it's not real. Well, since 1590 at least, we can follow what Malachi predicted about the successive popes, and they are remarkable in their accuracy. And now we face a new situation where at last we've come to the 112th pope since Malachi's time, since Celestine II, who was the first of these popes in his prophecy, was there. Now we've come to the 112th pope since his time. And whether his prophecies are accurate or not, they're not the same as biblical prophecy. But whether they're accurate or not is going to be told within a few weeks. Because if he's right, it will not be, the church is pushing to appoint as pope someone from either Africa or Latin America. And there's a very strong movement within the church that this time they elect a pope from those places. Well, if they do, we'll know that Malachi's prophecy really wasn't true. But if against odds, an Italian will be elected pope and name himself Peter and be called Peter the Roman, then we know that this prophecy is actually agreeing with what we already know from Bible prophecy, and that is that we are very near the time of Christ coming for his true church before the beginning of the last 7 years of catastrophic events, which will end with the personal return of Christ to the earth. I'll be back in a moment. Thank you so much for standing with me as a watchman on the wall. I thank God for sending me such loyal partners, and I pray daily that he will reward your faithfulness and protect and prosper you in these very difficult times. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll be talking more about this subject, so keep in touch with my website, hallindsey.com, and you might do a little study on this whole issue for yourself. St. Malachi's prophecies of the Pope. A truly interesting thing, and I have yet to see what was the Lord's full purpose for having this come, but I do believe that St. Malachi must have been a believer. So do take a close look at it. God bless you, and God willing, I'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Hal Lindsey Report. To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Hal Lindsey Media Ministries, P.O. Box 470470, Tulsa, Oklahoma 74147. You can also support this ministry online. Visit hallindsey.com or call 1-888-RAPTURE.